Joan Quinn Profiles. As an editor for Andy Warhol's Interview, the Los Angeles Herald-Examiner, LA Style, and Detour magazines, Joan covered the social set, the Hollywood hotshots, the international art scene, the mysteries of food, the excitement of travel, and the fabulous world of fashion. Joan continues to find creative people on the cutting edge who make things happen. Here's Joan Agajanian Quinn.
Hi, I'm Joan Quinn, and welcome to the Joan Quinn Profiles. Waiting to be profiled are Barbara Morrison, an entertainer, and playwright Anthony F. Cronin. Singer Barbara Morrison, who was born and raised in Michigan, has been on the music industry with her music for over 30 years. She's been featured in more than 20 recordings, and she's traveled the world with the who's who of jazz and blues. She's here to tell us about the greats and to give us a short story about her Barbara Morrison Performing Arts Center. So you were on the radio when you were 10 years old.
That's right.
What were you doing there?
I was singing a Stevie Wonder song. You know, Stevie Wonder and I are about the same age, and he became a big star when he was about 8 or 9 years old. And he had some songs out, and when I got into the competition for Motown, I sang one of his songs on the radio.
Where did that lead?
Well, I didn't win or anything, but I got to the finals. So I got a chance to be on the radio like about 5 times.
Oh, you did?
Oh, yeah. So each week they would bring you back, and then they would eliminate somebody, like American Idol.
Oh, yeah.
And I didn't win. A girl named Carolyn Crawford won, and she had a big, huge hit with a tune called Selfish One. Do you remember that?
So you were with all those great people from the very beginning, from 10 years old on.
No, actually, my mom and dad wouldn't let me. But
they wouldn't let you continue?
No. They kept me strict. My mother was strict about education and staying in school. But when I got old enough, then I went out on my own. But
did you take lessons?
No, I took piano lessons from Mrs. Thomas, God rest her soul. All of us did in the whole neighborhood. She was the piano teacher in our neighborhood. But I didn't have voice lessons. My father was a great singer. Uh-huh. So
was he popular? Was he out in the public,
no, he
or just
wasn't.
at home?
Just in the neighborhood and just in our vicinity. But he had a doo-wop group.
Oh, so that's where you learned it.
Mm-hmm.
So you have a great range in your voice. Well, why did you choose jazz? Why didn't you do something else?
I think it was my father. His friends were all my friends. So I had a lot of older friends. I didn't have very many friends my age. Most of my friends were my parents' age.
I see. I love that, though, don't you? I always like that, too.
Yeah, so I fell in love with the music of my parents.
But rock and roll was very popular.
Yeah.
And blues, what you're saying, right?
Mm-hmm.
What's the difference between jazz and blues? Or is there a difference?
No, not really, but yes, there is a difference, but not really. I think blues is the foundation of all the music. Rock and roll, rhythm and blues, pop. You got blues in there somewhere.
And how does that define? What is that really?
Blues, it's more defined by the mood that everybody gets the blues.
Does it have to be slow?
No.
Oh,
no,
it doesn't?
not at all. Oh, no. The Hey, Hey, the Blues is All Right is a very happy song, but it tells a story about if it wasn't for the blues, I wouldn't have found you. And it turns out to be a happy song. So a lot of people think that the blues is sad and downtrodden, and I think that's because of slavery.
That's why I wanted you to talk about that.
Well, in slavery, the slaves would sing songs, but they were messages to each other. Like, another man done gone, another man done gone, which means you think that the woman think, oh, gee whiz, this poor lady, every time she gets a man, he goes away. But what it really explains is there was somebody off picking cotton, and he was a runaway.
Oh, he was a runaway.
And they were letting the others know that there was somebody on the run.
But they didn't want to say it in a happy voice.
I didn't know his name. That means I didn't know his name. That means I don't know who he was. But if you knew his name, try to get to his wife and kids and let them know that he's run away.
That somebody's gone. So look
I'm
for
gonna
someone.
work his load. That means move in close so the master won't see that he's missing.
Oh,
You
that's
see, so
giving me the chills.
So you see those kind of stories in the blues makes you feel like, oh, you know, but these are roots, these are chords to all kind of songs.
Yeah,
like,
fantastic.
yeah.
And then the jazz went to the
jazz
doo-wop
is
stuff.
the improvisation
Yeah.
of a man done gone.
I see.
You do a little baby man done gone, baby dee boop beep beep beep. You go somewhere else with it.
How do you know where to go?
It's called improvisation.
I know, but how do you know where to go?
That comes from the blues inside of your soul. So when you start improvising, you take all your experiences and everything that you've learned, and you go wherever you want to go. For instance, we took the 405. You gave us directions to get here. We took the 405 to the 101. Da 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 da. Well, we could have took the 5 to the 134 to the da 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 da. But we still end up in the same place. That's called improvisation.
Oh, I see.
We could have got off at some other boulevard and took the streets over here.
Right.
So we could have improvised.
But how does the musician know how to go with you, the singer? Or does the singer lead or does the musician lead?
Either way, you have to listen very, very carefully. Listen very carefully. And sometimes some of the best work comes from improvisation. Remember when the club owner told Ray Charles, says, you know, you got 15 minutes to go, so you got to keep playing. And he started playing. Told the band, tell me what I say.
And that became history, didn't it?
Yeah, sometimes some of the best improvisation becomes some of the best music.
I knew you'd have some good stories. You just came off a 33-city U.S. tour.
Yes.
How do you do it?
Well, it was a lot of fun.
It was a tribute to Harold Arlen.
It was a lot of fun.
And he writes movie music.
Are you kidding? Old Black Magic. He wrote the #1 song of the 20th century. Somewhere over the rainbow.
So you sing all those in your tour?
Yeah, we did. We did all the Harold Arlen stuff and
the Wizard of Oz. He wrote the music.
Yeah, Ding Dong, the Witch is Dead. And he also wrote with others like Johnny Mercer.
Oh, right.
And Henry Mancini and people like that.
Oh.
Yep.
So who goes with you when you go on this big tour?
No, actually, I went with them.
You went with them.
You know Tom Wopat?
Oh, yeah.
And Faith Evans, they're big Broadway stars.
Yes.
So Lofton Harris and we were like second on the bill.
Oh, that's fantastic.
Yeah, it was great. It was a great tour.
So tell us what cities you went to.
Oh, we did the whole East Coast.
I see.
And then we ended up in Palm Springs.
Is that right?
So we did the East Coast and then came all the way back to California.
And how long does something like that take?
It took us about 6 weeks.
And are you comfortable on the road like that?
Well, we had the best conditions. We had a sleeper,
Uh-huh.
you know, a big bus with 12 beds in it, and 2 living rooms, one in the
Really?
front, one in the back. And then that took us to the next city, to the hotel.
Oh.
So we ended up in a nice hotel in every room, in every city, I mean. And while we were on the road, we had videos and the best high
so you were
definition
comfortable.
TVs. We were very comfortable.
Very comfortable.
They treated us very well.
That's great. You've been with Count Basie.
Oh yeah.
You've been with Doc Severinsen. You've been with these great bands. What did you do with those people?
Just sang. With Ray Charles, I opened up the show. Everybody always asked me, were you a Raylette? And I said, no. But most of his contracts required him to perform 90 minutes. Well, as he got older, he wasn't going to do that.
So he brought...
I took the 30 and he did the 60.
Oh, is that right?
Yeah. So I opened up the show for him in all the countries in Europe and Japan.
Wow.
And most of my tours with him were in the summer.
When you knew, when you were with him, did he know when you came on the set? Could he feel you?
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
He had that funny sense, didn't he?
I had the crazy personality too. I'd walk by the piano and go, "Hey, Mr. Charles, be quiet so I can sing." You know, I did little stuff like that.
And then
he'd go, "Barbara, you're so crazy. He thought I was a nut. So
Well, those are like quirky, funny stories about legends. What about Dizzy? What about funny story about him?
Well, he thought that I was down for breakfast at the holiday in Nice, France. And we were the only two in the whole room. He said, "Come on over here and sit with me, little girl." And I went over, and we ended up being good friends in that one situation. But they were giving him a surprise birthday party on the roof garden. So the French people thought I was his wife.
Oh.
So they go, "Mrs. Gillespie, Mrs. Gillespie." I'm like, "Excuse me for a minute. Hello, what? Mrs. Gillespie, could you bring your husband to the roof garden?"
Oh, Mrs. Gillespie.
I don't know what you're talking about. I didn't even know it was him when I met him.
No.
I didn't even know it was Dizzy Gillespie. And I said, "I'm not Mrs. Gillespie." And I said, I saw the other trumpet player in the band. I said, "Clara, what are these people talking about? They want me to bring this guy over here." And she said, "Barbara, do you know who that is?" And I said, "No, they keep calling me Mrs. Gillespie."
Oh.
But I was so young and dumb, I didn't really know.
Oh, that's so great. February, every February, is Black History Month.
Yeah.
And you did a tribute to Black History Month
Yes,
at
I
your
did.
Barbara Morrison
Performing
Arts Center. Is it a building?
It is. It's a wonderful 99-seater.
Oh, great.
Yeah, and right now, the first week we did a tribute to Billy Eckstine.
Oh.
And then the second week we did Louis Armstrong. And then we did Louis Bellson, who was once married to Pearl Bailey.
Yeah, I remember
Then
that.
the great Corky Hill. I don't know if you know
I
her.
do.
She's
She's a
married to Mike
harpist.
Stoll. Yeah.
Right.
Well, she did Billie Holiday. She and her
Oh.
her daughter-in-law and myself. And then we did Salute to the Duke, a tribute to Duke Ellington. And we're still doing it because it was so popular.
Oh, so it just went through February, March.
And now we're still doing Salute to the Duke, but we're just doing it in the afternoon on Saturdays and Sundays.
Oh, I think that's fantastic.
Yeah.
And when did they name this center after you?
August of last year.
And it's in Leimert
Leimert
Park.
Park, yes.
Is it on Degnan?
It's on Degnan, 4305, right at the corner of Degnan and 43rd.
And the theater was there.
It was already there.
The movie theater was there.
No, it wasn't a movie theater. It was just a blank building when I got it. But it's called Community Build, and it's owned by Maxine Waters.
Oh, I love Maxine. She's a good
Yeah.
friend.
And
Oh, yes.
It's in a beautiful courtyard.
Fantastic.
So you can, when you walk out to the theater, you can sit down and have coffee, or there's a restaurant there. And then next to the courtyard is a beautiful built-in park. So Maxine owns that whole thing.
And so, are you there most of the time? Do you have people coming in and doing
and
plays?
I'm there myself.
Do they do theater too?
Yeah,
plays?
we have a beautiful play going now called Grace, the Brenda Lee Egger story.
Oh, I know, Brenda Lee Egger. Yes,
Yeah, with Jerry Butler.
I interviewed her.
Okay.
And
yeah.
somebody in West Hollywood just asked about her. They want to get a hold of her, so maybe you'll get me to her.
Tell them to come on over to the Barbara Morrison Performing Arts Center and see the play. She's there until next week.
Oh, that's
Next week is-
fantastic.
yeah.
Before we leave, one more. Let's do Mel Torme story. The
Ah.
the Velvet Fog.
Velvet Fog.
Yeah.
Yeah, we did the tribute to Ella. It was wonderful. We had Whitney Houston, Joe Williams, Nancy Wilson, Chaka Khan, myself, Mel Torme, Lou Rawls, Stevie Wonder. And they did a big, huge, Diane Reeves, who just tore it up with the St. Louis Blues. And it was a big, huge write-up in the paper. Leonard Feather was still alive at the time.
Oh, yes,
And he
wonderful critic.
Oh, yeah. He did a wonderful job of reviewing it was at the Universal Amphitheater, which is now called the Gibson. I think it's called the Gibson now. But I hung out with the Velvet Fog.
Was he cool?
He was gracious and wonderful, and he was everything.
His son sings now too,
Oh,
with a wonderful voice.
He is great. He is great also.
So you've got to
I
get
have
him
his
over
CDs. Yes.
to your place.
We got to get him over there. I got to email him. We're email buddies.
Oh, good. Thank you for coming and sharing all your
Thank you,
stories.
Joan. I had a wonderful time.
I loved having
And tell
you.
Gary I love him.
Oh, well, you're Gary or my Gary?
You're Gary.
Don't go away. We'll be right back with playwright, actor Anthony Cronin. Hi, I'm Joan Quinn, and welcome back to the Joan Quinn Profiles. I'm here with actor, director Anthony F. Cronin, who was born and raised in Connecticut. He went to Colgate, studied at Arizona State, and earned an MFA at Cornell University. He's acted in, as well as directed, plays off-Broadway. Tony's not to be confused with Anthony Cronin, the Irish poet. Are you?
No.
Tell me about that, because when I was looking for Anthony Cronin, I came up with this great body of poetry.
Yeah, well, the Irish are poets, as we know. Apparently my family comes from one small farm in the county of Cork in the south of Ireland, so we're all related somehow.
Is that where he is?
He must be, yeah.
He must be.
Yeah.
Well, he's pretty well known, and you're writing and doing a lot of work too, so I think you've got that little strand somewhere, the Irish strand.
Yeah, exactly.
Tell me about those college experiences, because I think that really got you going, and you worked a lot on your career,
Yeah.
actually.
Yeah. When I went to college, I needed a job, so I started working as the tech director for the theater.
Oh.
It was like a work-study job, and so I got to see all the plays and all the performances, and I realized that I could do as well as the people on the stage, so I started directing and writing myself.
You mean before you even realized you wanted to be in the theater?
Yeah.
That's how you got...
Yeah, so I needed the work-study job, and since I was good with my hands, I knew how to work.
Ah.
I was, you know.
So you were very focused then on that part of how you got into your career, because at Colgate, what were you doing?
Well, I started as a tech director, and I ran the theater for years.
In Colgate?
Yeah.
And then at Arizona?
I was studying theater history, but I was also the technical fellow. So I worked in the scene shop and built the sets.
And at Cornell? That was the
Well,
MFA?
Cornell, that's when I finally I was simply a directing student.
Oh, you
And
were?
Yeah, and the directors we only had one director a year, but I took the same acting MFA program as the actors, and I did an extra year to augment the directing.
So that's when you were starting to act.
Yeah.
When you, before I forget, because when you're directing, you're probably going crazy with all the tech stuff. Do you tell everybody what to do? Because you know what to do.
No, it's funny. I don't, because I've been in that position, so I'm always very careful about how one, interacts and how one orders and how one gives responsibility out. And it's a tricky personnel thing.
I know, especially when you've done it, you know, and you know how to do it. I would think you'd be going like, why isn't that light going on? Why isn't that set the way, put in the right spot?
Yeah, that's right. It's all a management issue, and how you get the best performance out of both the technicians, the actors, or whatever you happen to.
Do you continue to act?
I do.
You do? You're in commercials, right?
I do commercials once in a while, as much as I can. And I do some independent films. I've been in some independent films lately, and yeah.
So you do.
Yeah.
So what about screenplays? You've written screenplays?
I've written a few screenplays. Nothing's been produced yet, but I have a few. So we're working on it.
But you wrote a novel called Twisted.
I did write a novel called Twisted.
What is it? Tell us about it.
Well, I lived in the East Village of New York for 7 years before I moved out here. And this is a love story, basically, about a unsuspecting guy who meets a girl in a falafel shop, and she invites him to come see a dance concert. And it turns out that she is the dancer, and she's actually the incarnation of the divine feminine, which is an Indian tradition. She called it Shakti. And so she's like this very special woman who decides this is the man that's going to be her consort on earth.
She finds him and invites him, yeah?
Yes. But then she has to leave on an emergency tour of the provinces. And basically, he becomes embroiled in her whole extended family organization.
Oh.
And it sort of goes on from there.
So, is that novel going to be a play or a film?
It's much more of a film, I think.
Is it?
The scope's pretty big.
Is that what happens? I mean, you write the novel. Did you write it with a film in mind?
No.
No.
No, prose, for me, prose is a very different center than...
That's what I wondered, yeah.
Film or theater. So I think, for me, the form is always very clear. I play music as well, and I write songs.
Oh, that's right.
So it's very clear, the difference. I think a lot of people don't quite grasp this. The form is the central aspect of the composition, and then the story sort of hangs off the form.
So when you take writing groups, or writing classes or seminars, is that what's comes out, the form for each kind of thing that you're doing?
Yeah, that's I think where people focus.
Yeah.
I think since I've worked in so many different forms, the understanding is very clear. You can do so much on the stage, and you can do a very different thing on film.
Well, I saw a film the other day, and it was a stage play.
Yeah.
And then the director of the play and the writers gave full creative outlet to the director of the film.
Mm-hmm.
And the film director said that's the only way you can do it, because they're so different. They work differently.
Exactly. And you can tell when you work, I work with some people in the business, and the directors, they'll be thinking about, how do I get the camera to tell this story as opposed to the play,
I see.
which is pure words.
Which is, and also just right there, a big, not just focused on, I see.
Yeah.
Well, you've done lots of stage plays in New York, and the Tribeca Theater, which is very well known. And
Yeah.
what'd you do there, The Beholder?
Well, we did a play called A Light in the Shadows.
Oh.
Now, that's been adapted now, and the name's changed to Of the Beholder.
Oh, is that what it was?
Yeah.
And did you direct it?
I did direct that one. I happened to be in it as well.
Oh,
I was
see, there
playing-
you
yeah. I was playing the lead in that, and the original production was at the St. Mark's Theater,
Oh, then.
and which is right across from, off of St. Mark's and First.
Yeah.
And so that was this is where Twisted came from. That was my old neighborhood. And it went very well. That production, actually, I had to play a second role because the guy who was supposed to play it got called to London to play the lead in The King and I.
So you knew what to do. Oh, was there singing in it?
No.
Oh, because
No,
you
no.
said you sing. You do sing.
I do sing, yeah.
Have you done any musicals?
I haven't done any formal musicals. I used to play like in clubs. I used to be like
yeah.
a club singer.
Well, we're talking The Beholder,
Yeah.
which started as something else. Does that lead into Come Sundown, which is what we're going to talk about today at the Ruskin Group Theater?
Actually, Come Sundown I wrote first. That
Oh,
was-
before The Beholder?
Yeah.
Oh, good.
Yeah, I wrote that before A Light in the Shadows. And it was, it's a little more, when I wrote it, probably in the late 90s, probably 96, 97, people didn't really react to it particularly well because there's an aspect of it I think is challenging, or was more challenging back then.
And it took 10, 15 years before people realized it. Tell us about it then.
Well, it's a story about these two environmental lawyers who live in the Southern Rockies. And they're brought into this case where they're trying to help this old couple who live in the mountains. The old couple, though, are not people as such. They're sort of eternal spirits. And during the day, they're old. But come sundown, they turn young. And so they sort of metaphors for the spirit and energy of nature.
Sounds
And-
like Arizona to me.
Well, it's actually the Four Corners area, that whole,
Really?
well, Santa
Was that
Fe,
an influence?
Santa Fe more than anything.
Yeah,
But
because
was
I
in
see
Arizona,
that
yeah, but-
influence, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, go on.
And so, anyway, so over the course of the play, as you know, thematically, it is about sort of growing up and finding a wholeness to one's heart. And I think that the relationship of man and our institutions, and we're seeing this in Japan right now, that man's power over the planet is more powerful now than when nature just had complete control.
Why do you think people can accept that theme more now?
Because I think the magical aspect of these people who are older in the day and come sundown, grow young, has been explored a lot. We've seen it in Benjamin, what was it?
Button.
Strange case, Benjamin Button. We've seen it in Water for Chocolate. All
Yeah.
the South American writers like Gabriel Garcia Marquez. So people accept the sort of magical aspects of the story more now than they did, I think, 15 years ago. I think American drama up until then was much more literal. You had, Our Town was the closest thing, right? It's like, and so I think there's just a change where people have seen this, where chocolate turns you into.
Yeah, fantastic.
Yeah, exactly, right?
Yeah.
And so I think people accept that more as the sort of hold realism had on us. has changed.
Maybe the influence of New Age medicine opposite Western medicine, people are more interested in that kind of theory, healing from the earth,
Yes.
natural causes. Well, how did you cast this, Come
I think-
Sundown?
Well, which is great for me. I didn't cast it. The John Ruskin, the artistic director of the Ruskin Group Theater, loved the play, and they're producing it.
Oh, so you didn't have to do anything, but you're directing it.
No.
Oh, you're not even directing it.
No.
Oh, so you just
Karen
go.
Landry is directing
Carol,
it.
right.
Karen, who's done tons of, and yes.
She's married to an actor.
Yes, Chris Mulkey.
Yes,
Chris
he's great. Is he in it?
No, but he's writing some music for it because Chris is a musician.
Yes, he is. That's right. We've had him on the show, and
Oh.
he's a musician, and she's fantastic.
That's right.
So you're just
I'm
an observer.
Yes, exactly.
How does it look?
It looks great, and it's a joy, and they're all excited. I've done a few little tweaks on the script to help with just technical things, like to get the actors around and stuff.
You actually were in acting class with Jane Lynch and some other well-known actors, right?
Yeah.
Have you ever used them in any of your plays?
Well, back in the day, I've directed Jane a few times. She was my Olivia in Twelfth Night. Michael Nesbitt just finished a movie with Matt Damon and Mark Wahlberg in New Orleans.
You were in school with him?
Yeah, Michael. And Jimmy Smits graduated right before I did. And Dick Tyson, who everyone knows from Kindergarten Cop, was my Mercutio for Romeo and Juliet.
Oh, so you stay in the circle.
Well, we keep them. We had it's a very tiny program at Cornell. It was sort of the anti-Yale Juilliard.
Oh, that's interesting.
So out of the program, we've had some pretty stellar people come out. And Jane's just always been tremendous. And
tell us a little bit about the Ruskin Theater. It's over at the airport, right?
It's
Santa
at
Monica?
the airport. John Ruskin studied with Sanford Meisner, the great acting teacher in New York. And it's a very interesting technique that the Meisner has. And John teaches a technique. He's an accredited teacher. So he has this sort of group of very dedicated actors who are in his programs, and he's committed to basically old school American acting.
So how would you ever get in the group? Do you have to audition?
If you have the credits, you can apply to become part of the company.
Oh, that's what I meant, yeah.
Which is, the theater company is slightly separate from the school. Otherwise, John can accept you as a student.
Oh, that's very interesting.
Depending on your level. And of course, Meisner is a great acting technique, especially for film, because it's so intimate. I don't know if you're
so they all work together over there.
That's right.
And I guess I didn't realize the school part of it brings the students in and the actors together.
Well, yes,
it's like a circle.
There's a whole environment of
Yeah.
people who study, and then the people who work in the theater. And so it's a great accomplishment on their part, and it's at the airport, which is
It's so easy to park.
that's right. It's got parking.
So easy. So it was so nice for you to come. Thank you.
Well, thank you very much for having me.
And we'll see you next time on the Joan Quinn Profiles, but email me at jaquinn1@aol.com. And if you want to write me a letter, 777 South Figueroa, 44th floor, Los Angeles, 90017. We'll see you next time on the Joan Quinn Profiles.